KL Publications presents Socialite by Ryan C. Sanders. Maria had always been the type of girl who could fly under the radar. Not in a bad way, more like a ninja. She didn't need the spotlight. She preferred to quietly move through the social halls of Jefferson High without making a scene at all. But going into the 10th grade, things started to feel different. High school had this weird way of turning life into a game of Survivor, and Maria had the front row seat to all the drama. Summer had just ended, and with it, Maria's peaceful days of reading books at the park and binge watching Netflix dramas. She knew the second she stepped into the hallway, it was game on. And let's be real, 10th grade is when the real craziness starts. Everyone is either in a relationship, talking about a relationship, or recovering from a relationship. But Maria wasn't into the whole high school romance scene, at least not until she met Jason. Jason was the kind of guy who could make an entrance. Tall, loud, and always with a group of guys trailing behind him like a backup dancers. He had his air about him that screamed, "Pay attention," and apparently a lot of girls did. He had the swoopy hair, the smirk, that whole "I'm cool but not trying too hard" thing going on. And for some reason, he was paying attention to her. "Yo, Maria," he called one day, catching up to her at her locker. "You going to that bonfire thing Friday?" Maria looked up, half surprised. Maybe, why?" Jason shrugged. "Just thought you might want to hang out." She felt her heart do this little flip, like it was deciding whether to jump out of her chest or just dance around in there. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. It was like the social world had turned upside down. But before she could get too caught up in Jason's hype, something in her brain clicked. A reminder of the book she'd read over the summer. See, Maria wasn't your average teenage girl. She spent most of her free time diving into self-help books, and one of her favorites had been The Social Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. It had talked to her about things like empathy, social awareness, and most importantly, recognizing toxic relationships before you get stuck in one. And Jason, well, he had some red flags. The way he shuttered around like he owned the place, the way he was always on, never really listening to anyone. Those were clues. Maria remembered a section from Goleman's book about toxic people, how they could be charming at first but quickly become manipulative, turning every relationship into a game that they had to win. Later that night, she laid on her bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation in her head. Jason was smooth, no doubt, but something felt off. He didn't ask about her. He just wanted her to be there, orbiting around him. That wasn't connection. That was control. Maria wasn't about to be someone's sidekick on their own show. Instead of getting lost in the fantasy of dating the school popular guy, Maria decided to lean into her instincts. Goleman had written about the importance of reading social cues, people's body language, their tone, their actions, and Jason's cues were practically blaring like a foghorn. Danger, avoid. The next day, when Jason came around again with his smooth talk, Maria wasn't having it. "You know," she said, "I think I'm going to skip this bonfire, but thanks." Jason blinked, clearly not expecting that. "Wait, why?" "Just not my scene," she said with a shrug, playing it cool. He stood there confused, like someone had just told him he wasn't the main character anymore. "Okay, whatever," he muttered before walking away, and that was it. But for Maria, it wasn't over. That was just the beginning. She realized something powerful in that moment. She didn't need to play the game. High school relationships didn't have to be this weird, toxic dance of power and manipulation. She could choose to build real connection, friendships based on mutual respect, not status or control. Maria's decision to skip out on Jason's train was a turning point. Instead of focusing on who she could hang out with based on popularity, she started paying attention to people who made her feel seen. Like her friend Jenny, who had always been there but wasn't flashy. Jenny was the kind of person who really listened, who cared about who and what she had to say. One afternoon, they sat together in the cafeteria watching the usually high school circus play out. Jason and his crew were at the usual spot, laughing obnoxiously loud. But Maria didn't feel that familiar pull anymore. She saw through it. You ever notice how some people just suck out the energy in the room? Maria asked, half laughing. Jenny nodded. Yeah, I try to steer clear of those type. Maria grinned. Same. I think I'm getting better at it. Jenny raised an eyebrow. Social intelligence in action. Maria laughed. You know it. As the weeks went on, Maria started to trust her gut more. Goldman had written about how empathy and social awareness weren't just skills for avoiding toxic relationships. They were about the foundations for building healthy ones. So Maria started applying what she learned, paying attention to people's body language and really listening during conversations. She found herself connecting with people in ways she hadn't before. Her social circles started to shift. She hung out with people who weren't necessarily the coolest, but were genuine, kind, funny in their own quirky ways. There was Rami, the quiet kid from her chemistry class, who turned out to be a musical genius, and Ashley, the artsy girl who had an Instagram account filled with her doodles. These were the people who made her laugh, who didn't care about the high school popularity contest. And the best part, Maria felt lighter. She didn't have to pretend, didn't have to constantly measure her worth based on who was paying attention to her. Instead, she focused on being present, building real connections and avoiding the traps that most teenagers fell into, like fake friends, bad relationships, and toxic drama. One day while walking out of school with Jenny, Maria spotted Jason flirting with a new girl at the locker. He glanced in Maria's direction, probably expecting her to still be interested, but Maria just smiled and waved. What was that about? Jenny asked, laughing. Oh, just a little reminder that I dodged a bullet, Maria said with a smirk. Smart girl, Maria grinned. Nah, just a little socially intelligent. And with that, she and Jenny walked off, leaving the chaos of high school romance behind them. Maria didn't need the attention of a guy like Jason to feel important. She had her friends, her self-awareness, and a quiet strength that no popularity contest could take away. It turns out, being a socialite isn't about having the most followers or dating the hottest guy. It's about knowing who you are, who you want to be around, and what you're not willing to tolerate. And Maria, well, she was perfectly fine with that. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe.